think we're looking to build more participatory methodologies in a different way, because we're actually asking community leaders, what do you think you can do? And so there is some really nice shifts and some innovation that is just starting to emerge from just asking these questions. Another area which was initially identified as a possible liability, we're trying to turn into a bit of an asset. We realised that if we're going to be reliant on mobile phones, phone conversations and internet usage, then we're going to be talking to power. And we have been for many years trying to avoid talking to power. We want to talk to the most marginalised. We want to get the voices of the people who don't necessarily have a say usually. But if we are forced to talk to only the village chief or only the community representative that's been chosen, let's make the most of it. Let's have a look at some methodologies that actually look at power and how power changes, and the more institutional side of what we do, which links in with some interesting conversations we can have about sustainability and about leadership. So all of these things have actually been quite valuable in, as I said, forcing us to fast track some thinking that so far has been theoretical.
We have a women's group called Reflect Circles, and they use the Reflect Action process, which is a learning process, and then they translate that learning into action. And we also use a participatory review and reflect process, which is done regularly in the program. So communities are used to feeding back to us and learning together around those particular moments. We also have internal knowledge and innovation hubs across our organisation globally, and that helps us learn internally, but also draws upon other networks for learning and sharing resources. In some countries, we're using SMS platforms or social media, which enable us to connect rapidly to people and to women. We have used young people to use their phones to capture data and community journalism in the past. So that's something that we can draw upon in this crisis. Of course, making sure they're following the strict social distancing processes. And also, as I said before, the localisation of MEL, and making sure that we're strengthening and drawing on local capability.
Tools are a critical element of MEL, but ensuring that the person-to-person connections are strong and ensuring that you've got advice on what's going to work in the context is going to be worth much, much more than any kind of blanket advice on tools that we might be able to say work in any context. One major limitation coming out of COVID is that a lot of tools that we might have used previously aren't available anymore. And so we'll be left with some of the things that we've been doing before without perhaps the triangulation options of key informant interviews with affected populations and so on, and more innovative tools, which I think have a lot of potential, but will be really, really dependent on context. I mentioned previously that a contact of mine has gone on a virtual field trip whereby he was able to have audio and sometimes video of what was going on. That is an absolute boon in some circumstances, and sitting here I wonder why that hasn't happened more before, but in a lot of circumstances that's just not going to be possible, right? The connections just, it's laughable to even think of that in terms of those new and innovative ideas. That's another area that shows us why you've got to have that personal connection and the trusting connection and the support so that people can be innovative in their MEL ideas. They're allowed to try something out and to have it fail. They're allowed to try out something that's a bit of a wild idea that then works. So I hope that we can get to that stage.